Hi everyone, welcome to 100x Entrepreneur Podcast. I am Nancy.
And I'm Siddharth.
We are the founders of 100x Entrepreneur Podcast, and this is the first time I am also I have also become part of the podcast. It's been 3 years. Our team members and few of our listeners have been asking us कि हम लोग अपने 100x Entrepreneur की story बताएं, how the 100x Entrepreneur Podcast was started, and what's the story behind it, and they also want to know about the behind the scene stories and what's next for 100x entrepreneurs. So today's episode is dedicated to our listeners and our team members.
And as you know, right, I'm the host in most of the episodes, and Nancy is the producer. She is the one who brings the guests. She's the one who is responsible for managing a team, which edits, which distributes. So I'm just the face.
So that let's start how we started 100x entrepreneur, because a lot of people on my LinkedIn also, they keep asking me what is 100x entrepreneur, what do you do, what's your role. So let's start with our journey, how the 100x entrepreneur podcast was born.
So I have to go a little back in time, almost 10 years back. In 2012, I formed my first company, which was now Adodoc. And fast forward, me and my co-founders and a team of 20 sold that company in 2017. It was a SaaS solution, a CRM solution for doctors, and we added a parent arm. That was the parent, and we added a child product to it, which was called Baby Google, which was how me and Nancy met. So Nancy joined the Baby Gogo team initially, uh, direct from college as an intern. That's how me and Nancy met. And we had huge mutual respect for each other, and that's how we decided to become life partners as well. In 2017 we got married, and 2017 the same time, right, just 3 to 4 months after our marriage. It was a very stressful time, because the company was getting acquired. And fast forward, 2017 October, that's when we finally signed the papers, sold the company. Me and Nancy joined the acquiring company called Shiros, and I became a co-founder and head of business. Nancy became the community head at Shiro. So after 1 year, I have always been an entrepreneur, and what I really appreciate about Nancy is she's a very high growth mindset personality. So she's always looking for non-traditional path, which can help her grow. And she's not, she doesn't like so-called career tags that she want to become, let's say, VP in Facebook or anywhere else. She is looking for her own personal growth as well as self validation that she is doing something which her parents, especially her mother, aspired her to become a really self made person. So at that point in time, right, 1 year down, we both were like really not satisfied because it was somebody else company. And when you are working in somebody else company as an entrepreneur, and if you're not getting an exponential growth curve, that that pinches you. And I was extremely frustrated, and Nancy used to see me frustrated in office. And
I was double frustrated to see him frustrated.
and at that point in time in 2018, I thought, let's do whatever is in our control. So I started shooting videos on LinkedIn, sharing my experiences, how to build let's say a very popular videos on YouTube called "How to Start from a Tier 2 City." Uh, Back then, not many people were starting up from Tier 2 cities. We thought starting up is only meant for Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore, and only for IITs.
So I still remember Siddharth used to shoot these videos at home. Like I used to shoot these videos, and these were like poorly shot videos, and he used to upload it on his social media. I think on LinkedIn, right?
Yeah.
And I will tell him that Siddharth, please don't upload these videos. Let's record once more. And he'll be like, no, no, no. With each video, I'll improve. So let's post. So like I used to get irritated that you're looking so bad. Background is looking so bad, and I don't want you to post this video. And he'll be like, no, 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 I have to upload it because I don't have. I want to focus on the content, quality of the content, not the quality of the video. That I will improve with each video we'll be publishing next. So, like, when I look back, I really admire this thing about Siddharth, that he's so, he has this bias for action, that he doesn't wait, to start something next, to execute his ideas. I totally love this thing about Siddharth. And a little correction, you said I joined Shiro's as community head. I joined as community managers. I was managing their health community when I joined them. And I was laughing initially when you were talking like good things about me, because before shooting this video I told Siddharth that you can talk about my role, because people keep asking me about my role specifically. Like, you are the face of the podcast, people hear your voice, people see you on YouTube, and they're like, when I post or promote our podcast on my LinkedIn, people ask me like, what's your role, what is 100x entrepreneur. So that you have to tell in this podcast what is my role, and you can appreciate me. So that started appreciating me and my qualities. But thank you so much for doing that. So let's just tell how startup 100x entrepreneur was born.
In 2018, we didn't knew even what a podcast was. So the goal was not to start a podcast when we did. The goal was to become better. And one way was clear, right? In my journey as 5, 6 years as an entrepreneur, that you can become better by talking to people who are much higher in their growth trajectory than you are, much higher in their learnings than you are, and maybe have accomplished more in life than you have. So I remember the first few episodes. I started going to my investors in my company because we had a decent exit. Investors at least got their money back. So we went to them. For example, I went to Dr. Anurag Malpani. He's in Mumbai. So I told him, like, after a meeting, I want to shoot a audio with you, and here is my Samsung phone. Let's record our audio in this, and I'll ask you about your journey, your learnings, how some of your startups failed, what are your learnings from them, and let's make it so that at least I come back with 5 to 10 super learnings which I have not had the chance of, you know, to talk to you about, because we were never sitting in that kind of a conversation. And the second thing is that, the other entrepreneurs, it took me 5 years to reach where I was. Can this conversation reduce their trajectory? So we started recording it on phone. Then, one day I was meeting Priya Krishnan, who is the founder of Clay Preschools. She has founded like uh, Clay back in 2012, 2013, and by 2017 they had 100, 200 branches, the largest preschool chain in India. So she told her about her journey on the podcast, and that's one after 4 to 5 episodes. And the first 4, 5 episodes I used to publish on my LinkedIn on a Google Drive. So somebody after 5 episodes said that you should make it a formal podcast. Then I started looking up how to start a podcast. So I had five audio recordings. Then what I did is I uploaded that on SoundCloud. And initially, Nancy used to make fun of me that because at home I was trying to make my equipment better than a phone, and I got a Yeti Blue mic.
I was more frustrated with the fact that you used to upload poorly short videos on your LinkedIn. Like, even before publishing, you know that these videos are not good enough, still you're publishing it. It's not like you're looking back and thinking कि यार क्या बेकार podcast videos upload की थी, थोड़ा और better कर सकते थे. You knew that these videos are not good enough, like audio and video quality wise, not content wise. I have always appreciated the knowledge you have gained over the last few years.
And that was because the minimum viable product. I'm a big fan of minimum viable product, and I always want to give it in the hand of the audience, the listeners, and the users, for them to judge how it is. And I knew that, right? With each iteration, I learned something better. So rather than waiting for the perfect moment, having the perfect crew to shoot my video, I thought let's just do it, whatever we as resources we have. So yeah, the first 5 episodes got like this way. We started getting appreciation. I started sharing that on LinkedIn. I used to travel, and I started the growth process that it took me on, right? So for anybody who is listening to this episode, the one way you can unlock growth for yourself is start reaching out to people who are better than you, who are bigger in than you, right? And see if they can give you their time on certain perspective. Meet them without agenda, but obviously offer them some value. Why should they meet you? But have kind of a goal of having such conversations at least sometimes in a year, because an external perspective always helps. So after five such conversations which we published on SoundCloud, I thought like this is something which I'm really enjoying doing, and uh, let's just make it. And fast forward 1 year, we had like 40 episodes done. During one of the episodes, I flew to Bangalore. I was recording a podcast with Amit Somani, who is managing partner Prime. And after the podcast, I asked him that, I'm interested in venture capital. Is there a position in Prime that, I can take off? Because being a second time entrepreneur, it will be a good learning curve for me also to see how the VCs do their business. And it can be helpful for them, right? To have somebody who has seen the entrepreneurial journey in the last 5 years, who can better empathize and connect with entrepreneurs. And I kept on waiting for 3 months, and one day, Amit called me that saying when I was shopping for our son Kabir, he was just born, that hey Siddhartha, I talked to Rajul, who was your lead investor in Adadoc slash Baby Gogo, and he said that you would be really good fit for head of community at Prime. And I thought, let's just jump the ship. Let's just go into venture capital or whatever opportunity I
So
have.
this is one example how our podcast 100x Entrepreneur has helped us in the last 3 years. So this is one opportunity we got through the podcast. So in the like by the end of this video, we will also be sharing how this podcast helped us in many ways.
Dear listeners, before we dive further into the podcast, I would like to thank our sponsors, Prime Venture Partners. Prime is the first institutional investor in category creating tech startups like Mfind, Dozy, Planet Sparks, Neo. Prime is now investing out of its fourth fund of $120 million. Today, I have with me Sanjay Swami, Managing Partner, Prime Venture Partners. Sanjay, congratulations on the 10th anniversary of Prime, and do let us know how will the next 10 years of the Indian startup ecosystem be like.
Thanks, Siddharth, for having us on the show. The last 10 years has just been an amazing ride in India, and it has sort of started getting exponentially more exciting as days go by. And clearly your podcast is itself an example of that. But what we're seeing in India are the benefit of three big trends that have been foundationally laid over the last 10 years. The first one was Aadhaar, India Stack, and of course UPI, which has made movement of money, friction free and basically free and in real time. The second is, smartphone and internet penetration along with 4G that is now pervasive across the country. And the third is the entrepreneurial spirit of India, as well as the aspirational youth that we have in India, that has created markets of extreme depth in India itself, right? This is something that was not there 10 years ago. Getting to $5-10 million of revenue was itself a big achievement, but now we're seeing that happening, in 12 to 18 months in some cases. Um, Having said that, I think we're only getting started. The best is yet to come. And what excites us as investors or as early stage entrepreneurs ourselves is really the massive opportunity, because what we're seeing in India is not something that's been seen in the rest of the world. The Western models, the Chinese models, the Israeli models are not what's going to solve India's problems. And the entrepreneurs in India have a unique opportunity to get down here, and just focus on solving India's problems first, which may very well be solutions for other parts of the world, right? And we're seeing some of that starting to happen. And that's where we think there is a spectacular opportunity here. So clearly for us, the best, and for this ecosystem, we are off to a great start, but the best is ahead of us.
Now, moving a little forward, right?
So I'll give you a brief what was going in the background, like when Siddharth was doing these podcasts, recording these podcasts in the year 2018. We started the podcast in 2017, but in the 2018 I used to go with him to record all these podcast episode, because during that time we used to shoot in person. So we used to visit all these guests' offices because we didn't have our own studio. So we used to go to Indifee's office and we'll brainstorm कैसे हम लोग एक ही ऑफिस में दो पॉडकास्ट कर सकते हैं, क्योंकि we needed the space. So I still remember that we visited Alok's office and we requested
Alok
him,
Mittal.
Alok Mittal, founder of Indifee. We requested him if he can do the podcast of his friend Pawan at his office only. So we used to travel in metro with our laptop, mic, and all the setup, and we'll take just 10-15 minutes. We'll set up in their office, and then we will call them, and we'll after they are done, we'll try to maintain a good relationship with them, and also figure out how the next episode we can record it their place, or maybe if two people are friends and we want to bring them both on our podcast, how we can record it at one place. And many conversation like this we used to have in metro while traveling. So I used to go with him to record these podcasts. And then I started I got to know that I was pregnant, so I stopped going. But I started helping him in the other things. So like when Kabir was born, and we shifted here in Bangalore, and he told me that he's going to record podcast of Gaurav Munjal, who is the founder of An Academy. I got very excited. I said, no, for this episode, I have to I want to join you. And that time was not very good for me, considering my mental health, because Kabir was born and I was always, most of my time was going to Kabir only, because Siddharth had joined his full-time job also and he was doing podcast also, so I was managing Kabir. But like एक time ऐसा आया, I was not feeling very good physically and mentally. So I thought कि बाकी सारा काम के साथ साथ I should पहले के जैसे I should go with him, and we were still recording in person podcast only that time also, because it was before pandemic. So I went with him, and that was one of the best time of my life. We were sitting with Gaurav Munchal, and that is my favorite podcast of 100x Entrepreneur for many reasons, for not just one reason. We'll talk about this later in this episode. So I was there in that room. Siddharth was recording the podcast, and before we started recording the conversation, Gaurav was asking Siddharth what he does, because they were friends. They I think they were part of some.
We are part of the Morpheus gang. It was India's first accelerator. So in 2014, 2015,
Yeah.
our paths overlapped.
Yeah, so he was talking about that, and I was just sitting in background listening to the conversation, pre-recording conversation, and he just randomly asked me, "What do you do?" And I'm being very honest here. I was not at all confident at that point in time, so I couldn't even told him that I am the co-founder of 100x Entrepreneur. I said I help Siddharth because I was so underconfident that time. Always had doubts like कि अच्छा क्या ही कर रहे हैं career में. It's just Siddharth's podcast and just helping him here and there, and most of my time is going to Kabir. I don't know if I'll get out of my four walls, if I'll do something meaningful, if I'll be able to add value, if I'll be able to get back to my work like most women go after their maternity leave. So that was not a very good time, but 100x Entrepreneur helped me specifically to really get out of my four walls and listen, at least if not meet, then at least listen to these passionate people every week while working on the podcast in the background, right? So we were in Bangalore, and the pandemic happened, and we started recording online podcasts. And that time we felt that, like Siddharth specifically, because he used to record these conversations, he felt that इतना मजा नहीं आ रहा है ऑनलाइन करने में, because you are not like just recording part के अलावा बाकी आप बात नहीं कर पा रहे हो, उतना मजा नहीं आ रहा है. Let's what do we do? Let's hold like थोड़े दिनों बात करते हैं. But pandemic was not like it, कुछ दिख नहीं रहा था ऐसा कि हाँ कुछ खुलने वाला है, कुछ अभी पॉसिबल होगा. So we kept on recording online only, and after few weeks, few months, we realized that we will be recording online only because it saves lot of time, energy, and अगर हमारे पास time ज़्यादा है तो we can use that time to fix our audio video quality and other things on 100x entrepreneur, because our listenership was growing. People started, people were writing back to us. We also started building our community for 100x entrepreneur. We have a newsletter which goes to 20,000 people every Monday. So we thought, let's use this time to improve our audio video quality and other things at Next Entrepreneur. Let's keep doing online podcasts only. So we set up two calls. One where Siddharth, have this pre-podcast call with the guests. They talk about their backgrounds, and they're just being comfortable with each other and their backgrounds. And then we have this main podcast call. So that's how we record all our podcast episodes. And that's the little backstory in 2020, I think. Yeah.
And that kept on going right. So once I left Prime in 2000, early 2020, I think it was Feb, I joined Amazon Web Services because there was only one reason for me. Like I think Prime was the most wonderful venture capital firm by culture. It's just that I had never worked in a very much scaled organization, and AWS is the world's biggest SaaS company with last year's revenue of $62 billion. So I thought, let me learn how to scale with this. And it's been last 2.5 years have been fantastic. And also what I started doing is, we had very little savings, and our personal exit from selling Baby Go was not that huge. So whatever money we had, and I used to discuss with Nancy, we'll not buy any house, we'll not buy any car. Let's just put it in startups, right? Because this is the money that we earn through our startup, and see where it goes. Thankfully, now we have invested in more than 30 companies. We have built a formal structure also. It's called 100x Entrepreneur. And today we have one exit, which was eBike Go. It was a company that we invested in 2019, before just I joined Prime. And recently we got a 7x exit from that company in their series A. We were the first seed investors in that. So it's been a wonderful journey for me, and what we have kept is, ourselves very frugal. So Nancy often jokes that, you haven't bought me any gold jewelry or any fancy things. But I think the journey has been very fulfilling because we have seen other startups which we are part of as investors grow into such beautiful organizations.
Yeah. So these are not serious complaints. Complaining is part of my role being a wife. So I have to complain. So this is one of the silly complaints. But I really, really love the way Siddharth pursue things in his life, in our life. The way he want to add value to these startup founders, the way he supports and contributes to our podcast 100x Entrepreneur. He always takes out time for the recordings, and I don't think he never has any weekends. It's a 7 day week for Siddharth. So I really, Siddharth, I don't think I need anyone else to inspire me. Siddharth, like by seeing Siddharth giving his 100% to the podcast, to the fund we have, to his job, and still manages to be so helpful. It's just amazing. So we would also like to talk about how we built our team at 100x Entrepreneur. So there's a small story I want to share. Like, why don't you share, Siddharth?
Yeah.
How Amit joined us?
Amit Kumar, was a bright student studying in Delhi University, and he applied for an internship in 2016 time in my company called Baby Gogo. And I don't know, right, what a spark that we saw. We gave him an internship for 3 months, and after 3 months, he had an offer in the Amazon team, and we also gave him an offer. And he said that he doesn't want to pursue the Amazon offer back then because it was a back end office that Amazon was offering to him, and he joined us full time. And once we had an exit, right, he told me, Siddharth, that you have played a huge role in shaping my career, and I'm grateful that Amit saw that. and he has been a huge contributor in all my companies, I can say today. So that at that point in time, he saw that if you are starting anything new, just let me know. And after 1 year, when we started the podcast, I asked Amit, "Hey, Amit, you wanted to be a part of anything that I started?" And he wrote a huge email 1 year
Yeah.
ago that whatever we want to start, he would like to be part of it. I thought, would you like to take ownership of any part of it? And
Like without thinking twice, he said yes, and he has played a very important role uh, in the podcast 100x Entrepreneur, and we really respect him. And he's like, I have never seen someone
so
so
consistent.
consistent, like so driven, so consistent. I think he jokingly said once that like he is responsible for the newsletter and the content for newsletter. He shares the newsletter every Monday, 2 p.m. So he jokingly once said that Nancy, he was traveling, so I asked him, "Ki Siddharth, Amit, will you be able to manage sending the newsletter this week?" And he jokingly said, "Nancy, newsletters तो अपनी शादी में भी मैं भेजूंगा." And I like we laugh at this thing because it was his marriage. I think it was his wedding day,
Yeah,
day before wedding or एक दिन बाद में he managed to send the newsletter, and we like really respect. It's not like we forced him, but he always manages to do
a
that.
very
It's
high degree of
so,
ownership.
yeah, we really love him for his dedication and consistency. I don't think things जो भी हम लोगों ने किए हैं वो उसके कंट्रीब्यूशन के बिना पॉसिबल है. एंड ऐसे ही हमारे जो और भी टीम मेंबर्स हैं उनकी सबकी बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग स्टोरीज हैं 100x ज्वाइन करने से के लिए. But we are grateful for all the team members we have, and everyone is working part time except me. So like they all are passionate, driven people who take out time on their weekends and still manage to contribute because they also believe, I think, because of 100x Entrepreneur, they get to hear someone. Like I believe founders are the most passionate set of people in the world, so they get to hear them every week. They learn from them while working on their जो भी उनका respective काम है वो करते हुए, they get to hear these stories and they learn from their journey. So this is something I find very amazing. And whenever I pitch someone for job or internship, I always tell them that no matter what work you are going to do here, no matter what skill you will be working on, you will be learning like 100x, and you'll realize that after working 2 3 months or even 6 months or 1 year, when you look back, you'll realize that you have learned so much about the startup ecosystem, so much about the human psychology, so much about like you'll get so much inspiration from these people you have been hearing for the last 1 month, 2 months, 6 months. This is my pitch when I'm pitching people to join 100x Entrepreneur.
And
So
I would like to share one of my favorite episodes, and then I would ask Nancy to share about her favorite episode. So my favorite episode is by with Jay Vijayan, who is the founder of Techion and was ex chief information officer of Tesla. He was the right hand man of Elon Musk, and his journey is so inspiring. At 30 years of age, he had done a master's from a college in Chennai. He was working in Chennai. His dad has huge loans, and at that point in time, he did a course in computers from I think NIIT, and that job got him posted to US in a services company. From there, he took multiple jobs, grew the ladder, and finally, his role landed up in Tesla when Tesla was unknown in 2011 2012, and from there to 2016-17 he grew into the CIO of Tesla. Right, he shares his story of working with the challenging Elon Musk, and then he started Techion, and in 3 years today Techion is a $3 to $5 billion company with like 30 million dollars of revenue approximately, I believe. So how, and he's 48 to 50 years old now, but his story is so inspirational because if you talk to him, right, he's not a IITian. He didn't do MBA. For 30 years, he was in Chennai. He had huge debts. Then how he transformed his life is amazing. So that episode, if anyone listens to, they can think that they can do whatever they aspire to do. They can become what they aspire to become. There is nothing stopping you. No degree stops you. No IIT tag stops you. No funding stops you. If you aim that big.
in the episode with Jay Vijayan is one of our best performing episodes from 100x Entrepreneur, and we're totally grateful for the opportunity to have him on the podcast, because it's so, it takes a lot of effort to have these people join us as guests. So it feels amazing when people like Jay Vijayan join us, because they are like, there's so much to do in their, like, they work with Elon Musk and they have their own projects. He's building this company, and then they join the podcast, and they share their story and everything in depth. It's not like they are just giving this one interview. They are so comfortable sharing their stories in so much depth. It's just amazing, and we are really thankful to Vijay for being part of 100x Entrepreneur. So let me talk about my favorite podcast of 100x Entrepreneur. I already mentioned about our recording day with Gaurav Munjal. The episode with Gaurav is my favorite episode from 100x Entrepreneur. The day I was, we were recording podcast episode with Gaurav. That day changed me. It brought a lot of change in me. It was so inspiring listening to the conversation, being there, and the way he conducts himself. And he was not at all, he didn't have any fear कि अच्छा ये बताना है स्टोरी में, ये बताना नहीं है, ये numbers share करने हैं, numbers नहीं share. It was such a raw episode. He was not at all shy from sharing any numbers, any stories. And he said that he's very obsessed about building this company. And he shared about his love for learning, and why he's building an academy, what impact he's creating and he wants to create in future. It was just an amazing conversation with him, and it is also one of the best performing podcast episode from 100x Entrepreneur, but it is my personal favorite till now, because from that day I started, taking more responsibilities. I said, I requested my mom-in-law to help me more with Kabir, because I wanted to give more time to 100x Entrepreneur, and I wanted to bring a routine in my life from that day onwards, because I, first hand saw him, on a Saturday, giving so much attention to the most important works of the week. And he told us that he doesn't take, like, कोई भी फाउंडर वीकेंड नहीं लेता है, बट ही शेयर दैट सैटरडेज को स्पेसिफिकली अपने वीक के सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट काम करते हैं, और सारा ऑर्गेनाइज करते हैं अपना काम. एंड ही ऑल्सो शेयर्ड दैट पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम ही हैड 6,000 notes in his iPad. So he's so dedicated for his learnings. So that episode brought a lot of change in my life. So thanks to Gaurav for joining us and for helping me, grow and be more mindful about my career. So I think that's it for now. And it was a big, because it's been 3 years, everyone in the team and asking me to, record this episode. And we were just delaying it, postponing it because of my one of the self doubts. Siddharth told me that we needed one video for our YouTube channel. We would put it in the about section. I was like, we'll do it. एंड बहुत दिनों तक मेरे को, बहुत महीनों तक मेरे को कहीं ना कहीं रियलाइजेशन हो रहा था दैट आई एम द ओनली पर्सन हु इज रिस्पॉन्सिबल फॉर दिस डिले. सो आई शुड स्टेप आउट ऑफ द फोर wall and I should do it, and Siddharth will be there, so he'll go fine. So today is that day, and I think it went fine.
Yes.
It was not
And,
that bad.
and we produce these episodes with a lot of love, lot of passion. If you could give us a subscribe on the channel that you're listening to,
Yeah.
whether it be Spotify or iTunes, if you're watching it on YouTube, give us a like button, share in comments that if you'd like to see us both more in
Yeah.
such episodes, and what would you like to learn from us, what we
Yes.
could share that could add value to you.
Yeah, tell us. We love listening from you, right? Whenever you share any feedback, we get so happy. We share in our WhatsApp group that we have got received this comment from this listener. So please tell us what guest you would like us to bring in the next episode, and also tell us if you want more podcast episodes where only we two are there and we are sharing our journeys and what's the next thing we want to do for 100x entrepreneur, what's the next, what are the things we'll be focusing in the next 1 year, 2 year, 5 year, and any stuff you want from 100x entrepreneur, please do let us know in the comments. And thank you so much for being part of our journey. We are totally grateful for this opportunity of building 100x entrepreneur and connecting with so many passionate people who want to grow 100x of themselves. So thank you so much.